Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Wayco from Revolution here with Carl Friedrich Schäufele, who is now not wearing his Chopard hat, but actually his Ferdinand Berthoud hat, and of course, my esteemed co-host and sometimes my teacher and mentor, Eleanor Picciotto. Eleanor, tell us a little bit about the Ferdinand Berthoud FB RES. What does that represent?
So the RES stands for remontoir d'égalité skeleton, but skeleton is probably not the right word that you'd like to choose in the end for this particular collection.
True. The skeleton movement would be something that would be more open than this. Here I would rather refer to an open work version of this movement, except that when you turn the watch around, then you are actually looking at sort of a live cinema of...
It's amazing.
Functioning of an incredible movement here.
It looks like a face to me, a face that
Yes,
will stop
also,
to you. Oh, it's
yes.
true. You've got the eyes, you've got the nose,
naturally.
and then you've got the whole movement.
It's a watch that is full of surprises. And also surprising when you know everything you can do with a watch as you choose it.
So this watch is actually offered with a configurator where you can choose from about 200 different options based on...
Based on the shape of the case. You have two shapes. You have the original, what we call the original FB1
kind of an
case,
octagonal
which is an
case.
octagonal case outside and round inside. Or you have the perfectly round case, which we introduced later on. So you have this choice. You have choice of materials. You have ceramized steel. You have
your personal favorite.
You have white gold. You can choose rose gold or titanium or even platinum. These are the materials, and then we can get into the dials. There are different dials. You have a blue dial, a black dial. You have dials with a vertical finish or a sunburst finish. And not speaking about the hands. But at the end of the day, only 38 movements will be made.
For the Libra that I am, it would be impossible to choose anything because everything would look just too perfect and beautiful.
But I suspect that we will end up with really 38 individual, unique personalized, pieces. Unique pieces.
That's so cool.
Which I think nowadays is what many watch collectors are looking for. Looking at the requests we were getting over the years at Berthoud, we realized that the demand for personalization is really there, and that's our answer.
Let's go back 10 years ago when you created the Renaissance for Ferdinand Berthoud. And Ferdinand Berthoud was one of the most famous watchmakers of all time. He was really a specialist in marine chronometers, which incidentally, marine chronometers, I know they're objects of interest today, but back in his era, they were actually necessary to find longitude on the ocean. And if you didn't have an accurate watch, you would potentially perish,
you would
right?
probably not return.
Indeed, that's
yes.
it. And I love the fact that you channeled this idea of precision watchmaking into some of the signature complications, right? So we have the chain and fusee, and the chain and fusee is for when, mainsprings unwind, you have a diminishment of torque, which can lead to inaccuracy. And so you have one of the most beautiful chain and fusee mechanisms of all time. Your first watch had a stunning tourbillon, but your second watch had this amazing complication with remontoir d'égalité, which is a rouleau triangle with another escapement that's fixed on the escape wheel and gave you a dead seconds mechanism. Tell me about that.
So on one hand you have this power supply which is stable, and at the end with this device you also guarantee a more stable output. So it's kind of a double control over power. Stabilizing power, and stabilizing power means precision.
Carl Friedrich, I love the fact that, we were just having a conversation about qualité fleurier, and you really, I have to say, are a real overachiever. Like, for everything you do, you have to do it to such the 11th degree, but I love that as well. So yes, you have a completely stable power supply because you have a chain and fusee, but then on top of that, you've removed the balance wheel from the influence of the power supply anyway by creating this additional mechanism.
But you see, the reason why I like this so much is what happens on the dial. You have a dead beat second.
Yes.
And I think it's nothing more intriguing and beautiful to watch than a deadbeat second.
I totally agree. Now,
of course, on the mechanical movement.
Now, you know what's funny was, and we were talking about the 200 configurations that are available for this watch with a combination of case shape, of color, of finishing. And when I initially picked this watch up, I was talking to Eleanor, I was like, you know, I like the round one, right? And I like the finishing on this as well because it's traditional finishing. You can see the anglage really well. The internal corners are amazing. Incidentally, your finishing is incredible. But the more I wore the various different watches, the more I fell in love with that one. This ceramised titanium watch, which when you put it on your wrist is feather light to wear, you know? And it's so effortless, even though the watch is, you know, fairly large because of the incredible complication inside, it's so effortless to wear, and it became kind of my favorite. First, you launched the watch in this case shape, and then, you know, collectors kind of said—
It was the only case shape
yes,
available.
Right. And then somehow a few pundits and collectors were like, oh, but I really like a round case shape. So this came out, right, which was great and very successful as well. And now when you potentially said that you may discontinue this, everyone's like, but no, don't. I love it.
Exactly.
You know?
It has become people's favorite.
So it just took a few years to kind of please the eye, I guess, you know. But this is one. I mean, there have been cars, there have been other objects in this world.
Movies as well, yeah.
That took time
yes,
for people to appreciate.
Absolutely.
And when this watch came out, you know, I had these remarks. Yeah, the movement is incredible. It's beautiful, but can we please just buy it in a round case? And I said, no, this is part of the DNA of this watch. And the explanation was also that you have in a chronometer, you have an outer box, which usually would be a square, or would have these edges, or sort of octagonal, and inside you would have the ship chronometer, which is round.
That's fantastic.
And which would be moving according to the
swaying of the ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this was the initial idea of this case. And now here we are back reintroducing this case as an option for this movement.
I absolutely love it. You know, and it was funny because I was having a conversation with a guy that I consider to be a remarkable watch collector and someone that's really promoted watch culture to the next generation. And it was John Mayer. And he was saying that his favorite thing is to be surprised by a watch. And he never forms an opinion because he wants to think about it for a while. And he feels that too many people rush to an opinion. And it always kind of cracks me up when people have said, oh, it's grown on me. It hasn't grown on you. It was already good to begin with. It just took you longer to figure it
Yes.
out. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah.
And I say that's exactly the case with this watch. The Ferdinand Berthoud RES, Remontoir d'Égalité skeleton, although it's more open work, is an absolute masterpiece. Configurator, thank you for joining us. Eleanor, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.